And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the last great Coliseum Bristol Motor Speedway as the playoffs begin for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Race number 27, playoff race number 1, short track racing here tonight under the lights. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, what a track to start off the playoffs for these drivers and their hopes to advance into the round of 8.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks here at Bristol that drivers are going to have to figure out how to keep their tempers low, but also racing as aggressive as they can. As Bristol, a track that, honestly, for some people, they feel comfortable at, and for others, it could be bad luck, because really, this track likes to eat up a lot of machines.
Logan Helton has 4 wins during the regular season, including winning the regular season finale last week at Richmond International. He'll start alongside of his teammate, 7-time winner David Santini. Obviously, we're looking at these two to maybe be one of the first ones to lock themselves into the round of 8. But interesting here, Sam, that 15 drivers are scheduled to take the green flag for these 225 laps, and only 6 drivers elected to take time in qualifying.
Yeah, some drivers feeling like that staying in the back is the safer place to be. A lot of the drivers that qualified are drivers that feel comfortable with driving here. I think the rest of the field is more of, I want to save my tires and just save my car so I'm there at the end of the race.
Only 4 sets of tires available to these drivers here tonight. How much screaming do you think they're going to be doing at their crew chief when we get to maybe the end? Let's say if we split this race into quarters, that's about, 65 laps, 65 to 70 laps that they'd have to run out there on a set of tires. I mean, how anxious would they be to come to pit road and get that fresh rubber?
Well, for most of these drivers, they're going to be mainly focused for just splitting this race in half. I mean, the fuel run can go for over 100 laps, so basically the fuel run they're looking for is anywhere from lap 100 to 125 is where they're looking to make a pit stop if we stay green until then. But, this series is so questionable at times. Sometimes we're green for most of the race, and then we'll have a late caution, or we'll have early cautions and then go green to the end. So a lot of these drivers looking for that long run that we usually have.
Bristol Motor Speedway, for the most part, is all about track position. What's some of the key fundamentals that these drivers are going to have to be aware of when trying to tackle the short track here tonight?
It's all about finding the arc and finding your rhythm through the course. A lot of drivers are going to be entering high, coming down low, and then entering high again. So it's mainly utilizing most of this track. Once you get drivers side by side, like we're going to be seeing here at the start, this is when you have the best time to make passes, but also the scariest time for most of these drivers.
Also, we'll have to see if these drivers feel like using the bumper to maybe move someone out of the way for position. We end up seeing some pretty aggressive racing at the end of the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series race at Richmond last week, and that was a playoff race. And here tonight, playoff contention drivers in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Now, as we mentioned, there are 12 drivers that made it here into this playoff system. There are a few notables that are not in the field here tonight, and we'll get to them in a moment as the green flag is out and we're racing at Bristol.
Drivers that took off, all the drivers up front, except for Longacre on the inside, and that 10 machine did not get going, actually got ran over. So a lot of drivers in the back trying to scatter where they're at, but it's going to be Dan Santini taking the lead.
You see Longacre dropping down to the apron there through 3 and 4. Might have been by choice after getting hit, trying to get to the back here and just get himself into a rhythm. Another driver that also EOL'd himself at the start was the 38 of Jeffrey Meyer.
Yeah, Jeffrey Meyer going to be starting in the back and slowly working his way up, has moved up 2 positions, but a lot of the drivers have already caution, and that's going to be with the 98 as well as the 19, I believe, that were involved in that.
Anthony McPherson making his first start of the season here tonight. And Tim Williams, you can see the damage on his number 19, one of our playoff contenders, caught up here in the early stages of Bristol.
Yeah, Tim Williams trying to make the pass on McPherson and just drifted up into the 98, entering turn number 1 and collecting both machines.
Now, at most tracks, you sustain that amount of damage, more than likely Tim Williams races over in terms of being competitive, but at Bristol, not necessarily a death sentence for that Toyota Supra.
Yeah, he still has a chance to repair that machine and get back out there, but for sure going for a top 5 finish might be out of the picture, but finishing in the top 10 still possible, and it's very early. This is a 225 lap race, and just having a caution here in the first 5 laps, I mean, there's still a lot of time for other drivers to have issues. As long as you stay out of trouble from here to the end, you might be moving up a couple of positions.
Boy, Matt Knight in that 0-1 had a lot of guts. He kept his foot in the throttle and picked the middle line and just barely was able to split the 19 and the 98 as we watch him going here to turn 1. Yikes, almost got into the back there of McPherson. And this is actually going to help the 12 of Roger Gregory. We saw just moments ago, he had started the race from pit road, fell a lap down early. He would be the recipient of the free pass and get the lucky dog here under this caution.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where these drivers are trying so many different moves, just didn't work out.
Now, a couple things we need to take away just from that initial start of this race. You talked about how Evan Longacre did not get going. He was on the inside line. And Logan Helton started the pole sitter, and his teammate David Zentini got around him for the lead when that caution came out. So I think it's safe to say, if you're the race leader here tonight at Bristol and you're leading them back to green, probably 100% of the time you're wanting to choose that top side.
Yeah, you're really looking for the top side to get that run out of the corner. And it works the best so far on these restarts, as you saw on that first restart. I do want to say that, we talked about right before they went green here at the start of the race, a lot of drivers that are in the top 12 for the playoffs were not able to make it. Brandon Andrews being one of them. I know that he's watching online. And, Brandon, we were hoping for the best out here, but, there's still a lot of racing. Other drivers that weren't able to make it here today, I mean, we got Joshua Gordon that's not here as well. So multiple cars not here, and a car that just manually disconnected. That's Roger Gregory.
So that's at least 3 drivers that we can pretty much assume are going to be below the cut line when we get to the second playoff race next week at Las Vegas. And unlike the Veterans of 4 and More Cup Series, where there are 10 playoff races, there's only 7 here with the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series.
Yeah, these playoffs are going to go quick, and you really can't miss races. So for a lot of these drivers that are having early issues now, it's more of you got to do the best that you can early on. And word is the 12 of Roger Gregory is doing a start in park, and that's why he had to take an early exit.
Well, he's at least going to get more points than if he wasn't here tonight, that's for sure. And that can be very important in terms of his chances of advancing into the round of 8. The other drivers right now that definitely need to make sure that their cars are going to be up to speed to get the most points possible. Tim Williams is just left pit road after getting repairs done as we're back green. Evan Longacre, you mentioned about him kind of getting run over there at the start. He's on pit road still, been up there for over 2 minutes getting repairs done to his number 10.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that 10 car back out on the track, but we're seeing movement up front. Chris Whitaker is now up to 3rd place. That 2 machine trying to make moves here on Logan Helton.
Chris Whitaker was third in the reformatted points after Richmond last week. Comes into this race a total of, I believe, 27 points behind David Santini, who obviously, along with Logan Helton, racked up a lot of playoff points because of their trips to victory lane this regular season.
Yeah, right now Logan Helton is trying to hold off that 2 machine in the back. There's been a lot of cars shuffling all over the place. Jeffrey Meyer, who we talked about, had an EOL, putting him back in the back of the pack. He's been struggling to move forward as he's been stuck behind the 0-1 of Matt Knight.
Yeah, you talked about the way to approach this racetrack, and I almost wonder if, because of that very reason, it's going to make it a little bit difficult for these drivers to make passes. Everybody wanting to run the same type of line, the same type of approach going into these corners.
Yeah, Jeffrey Meyer now finally able to get by the 0-1. As up front, I mean, David Santini, Logan Helton, and Chris Whitaker kind of pulling away from Carson Bowers in the 16 car. As up front, they're moving on. Is Bauer into the wall?
Yes, he did. He got it pretty good there with the right side of his Abruzzi Chevrolet Camaro, and that's another thing we're going to have to keep an eye on here, is just how hard the impact into the wall would be for a driver, because sometimes it bounces off and doesn't cause much of a problem, but sometimes it can really affect the way that the car is going to handle for the remainder of the run.
Yeah, and that hit is really taking Carson off of the rhythm that he was on and really shuffling him back, as now he's being challenged by TJ Crampton. Crampton, we've seen him be consistent here and really a challenge up front every single week that he's racing in that Penske machine. But Carson, I mean, he scrubbed the wall a little bit there. All he has to do is just get back into that rhythm, and he can start moving forward like everyone else, as it looks like the 98 machine was able to get back on track right now, trying to just gain positions that other drivers are not able to move out.
And he's going to actually, talking about McPherson, that 98, be just in front of this battle for the 4th position. Carson Bowers and TJ Crampton going to make their way around that Stewart-Haas Racing Ford as Crampton started to slide up the track, almost got into the left front of the 98 machine. Now, we should mention as well that the drivers that came into this race below the cut line after the points were reformatted: Roger Gregory, Brandon Andrews, Barry Stevens, and Kevin Roy. We've already documented Andrews did not make the start tonight. Roger Gregory is already out of this race. So what about Barry Stevens and Kevin Roy? What can they do? Well, right now, both of them running decently in the 6th and 7th positions, respectively.
Yeah, which are great runs for them, and they're kind of all on their own at the moment. Kevin Roy near this battle between the 51 and 38, as those drivers are getting really heated, as Meyer is trying everything he can to start moving forward, but it kind of is just stalling out. But this is a great run so far for Kevin Roy and Barry Stevens. Both drivers are just looking for solid days running up in the top 10.
Talked about Anthony McPherson making his debut in the series. Another driver making his debut here tonight at Bristol. The 51 of Aaron Tyner out of Jeremy Clements Racing. Right now in that 8th position, trying to hold off Jeffrey Meyer. Doing pretty decently here tonight and was running pretty consistent lap times as well in practice.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Tyner's only about a couple of tenths off of what our leaders are running. And right now, it's just cruising, and that's what a lot of this is going to be, is cars on cruise control for the first about 200 to 150 laps, and then these drivers will start to figure out how to move forward, because these laps are going to start ticking away. I mean, we're already on lap 25 of 225.
How about this three-way battle for the 4th position? Carson Bowers in the 16, Barry Stevens the 78, and the 2 of Chris Whitaker. Then you throw in the lap machines of Tim Williams and Anthony McPherson as well. A lot of cars wadded up here in one portion of the racetrack.
Yeah, like you said, Tim Williams, even though he's damaged, he can still run pretty quick, and he's running just as fast as the cars that are on the lead lap. As Ty McWhirter, we were seeing him moving forward in 3rd place. He's one of those drivers that has just been dropping off in the past about 5 to 10 laps, and now he's all the way back in 6th place, getting passed by lap machines.
Barry Stevens moving into 5th. Kevin Roy is about 0.3 of a second behind Chris Whitaker in what could end up being a battle here for the 6th position, and he will get to the inside. Boy, it really looks like that 2 car loses a lot on corner exit. I don't know if it gets tight on him, he has to get out of the throttle or what, but Kevin Roy almost got into the back of him.
Yeah, Kevin Roy had to back out of that one, got loose while he was trying to slow down in the middle of the corner, and here comes Jeffrey Meyer trying to get by 2 cars in one corner.
Bristol's one of those tracks, especially for the open setup leagues, that's like a double-edged sword, because you want to set up the car as loose as possible, but not too loose that it's going to spin out in the early stages. Then again, you want to have it tight enough that it's not going to spin out early, but if you do that, it's going to really tighten up on the long run, and that's maybe why we're seeing Chris Whitaker having to back off so much at cars wanting to probably turn straight into the wall off the corners.
Yeah, I mean, he looked so strong in those first 5 laps on this last restart, and ever since then, it's just been looking looser and looser and tightening up, loose on entry, and then tight through center off. So this 2 machine has a lot to work on to try to get his car fixed up, but he's got a lot of time during this race. If another caution comes out, might be able to fix things up. The good thing for these drivers, though, is they're working and then driving during the nighttime, where the track temp will stay pretty consistent, where right now it's 73 degrees.
Barry Stevens looking to the inside of Carson Bowers. That would be for the 4th position. Remember, there was a time this season when the BJ McLeod Motorsports drivers finished 1, 2, 3. That was back at Michigan, and right now, all 3 of the cars looking very strong right now, like they might be able to do it again.
Yeah, Barry Stevens slowly making his way forward. Like we saw Whitaker drop back, we're starting to see Carson Bowers dropping back as well, as that 16 machine qualified 3rd place, and slowly he's been dropping back. He's right now 4th, but he looks like he's about to lose even more position under fire by the 38 machine and 2 lap machines as well.
And I would say watch out if Tim Williams gets back on the lead lap, because I think Carson Bowers may have just brushed the wall there with the right rear quarter panel of his machine, as that car was really loose going into the corner. But I mean, right now, if Tim Williams were back on the lead lap, he would be battling Carson Bowers for the 5th position right now, and he's obviously got tremendous pace despite that front end damage.
Yeah, as this race goes on, there's going to be built up of marbles on the high side, even really close to the wall, and if you get up there, it kind of sucks you up to the outside wall and doesn't want to let you go. Also, if you start spinning on the inside, you're going to have marbles down there. So drivers have to be aware, as Carson Bowers is getting extremely close to the wall, kind of uncomfortably, as here comes Jeffrey Meyer now, as Carson's going to be trying to get by the 19 again.
It's the best battling going on, midway pack area from about 5th back to the 8th position.
Issues in the back, the 51 machine getting a little loose as he was getting passed by passed by the leaders.
Letting both David Santini and Logan Helton by, and that's now something that the 2 race leaders are going to have to deal with, is drivers on the tail end of the lead lap, as they've already put Chris Whitaker a lap down now. Kevin Roy is currently a lap down, as well as the 0-1 of Nat Knight, and you already alluded to the 51 of Aaron Tyner.
Yeah, Tyner got onto the back bumper of Kevin Roy, got loose, able to save it on the front stretch, but has lost a lot of time, now back to 10th place. And pretty far back, but he's trying to make a move forward, as I think there was some more contact between Tyner and Matt Knight, as both of them off course for a second there.
Yeah, Matt Knight's got some pretty good damage on the left side of his machine. Don't know if that was from that incident or not, but obviously had him somewhat off the pace and down on that inside line, trying to gather it back up as he got out of the way of TJ Crampton. I see a little bit of smoke over there. That might have been out of turn 2.
Out of turn 2, Carson Bowers got spun around, got loose out of the corner, able to get going again.
He's spinning again there on the back straightaway, and he almost got hit by Kevin Roy. Caution's going to come out.
Carson Bowers' tires just got so lit up and heat into the rear tires that he just could not handle the car anymore. Spins it around. Another car that has finally exited out, that was on pit road for the longest time. Evan Longacre is out of this thing.
Longacre came into this race 4th in the playoff points. We already mentioned Roger Gregory came in behind the cut line 9th in the points. Both those drivers out of the race, and with the timing of that caution, I mean, David Santini was setting quite a blistering pace, and I believe he had just lapped Chris Whitaker, so that will put the 2 car back in the lead lap and leave us currently with only 6 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green.
Yeah, right now our top 3 are just on cruise control, where they are so much quicker than the rest of the field. Everyone else was kind of getting clogged up behind one another, and Santini was easily just getting by everyone. They were just letting that 99 machine go.
We're going back a lap before the incident with Carson Bowers that brought out the caution. Here's the spin off of turn 2 you were talking about, and that little contact from the 98 of McPherson. Now, that did not bring the yellow flag out because the 16 was able to get it refired, but as you watch, he'll come back around here off turn 2 again and lose it once more. And that's the tough thing here about Bristol for these drivers is you don't know if you're going to have a long run, if you're going to have short spurts, so it's difficult to figure out how to set up that car, whether it's for the short run or for the long run.
Yeah, it's difficult for all these drivers as actually it was the 78 machine. Barry Stevens decided to stay out for an extra lap to lead that lap and get that bonus point for himself to help him with playoffs.
Now the points were really close from about third in the points all the way down to 12th, only a separation of 9 points. So that, I think, is a very smart move for Barry Stevens. The one thing that's going to hurt him is he is going to lose a little bit of track position. He would have restarted up in 4th, and I think this will have him restarting either back in the 5th or 6th position. Not a whole lot lost, but could be a difference maker into how long it's going to take him to try and fight his way up to the front of the field.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that he can easily come back from this. And just deciding to get that point was so important because of how much we've been seeing drivers already early on having issues. I mean, we saw Tim Williams as well as McPherson have issues, Matt Knight and the 51, and Jeffrey Meyer having a little bit of contact every once in a while. So we've already seen half the field already having some type of issue with one another, and we're only early in this race.
Well, Logan Helton, we mentioned, qualified on the pole. That number 1 pit stall playing a huge part into why he is the race leader now. Second place can be David Santini, followed by Crampton, Stevens, Meyer, and Whitaker. Those are the only drivers that are going to be on the lead lap when we go back green. Whitaker, with being the free pass machine, is actually going to have to start at the very tail end of the field behind not only the lead lap, but also the lap down machines.
Yeah, driver is going to be trying to get a wave around. That's actually going to be Tim Williams in the 19 machine, as well as McPherson taking wave arounds, which is going to be putting Tim Williams only 1 lap down now, but he's going to be on so much older tires that he's hoping for another quick caution.
42-lap old tires for him, 33-lap old tires for Anthony McPherson. We'll see if maybe Tim Williams get another quick caution as the green flag is back in the air. Our second restart of the night. Logan Helton trying to see if he can pull away from David Santini now, because Santini the last couple of times been able to reel him and pass him back.
Driver I'm going to have my eyes on is that 38 of Jeffrey Meyer. Can he get by Barry Stevens and start moving up and trying to battle for our top 3 positions? As really it's been Logan Helton, David Santini, TJ Crampton kind of dominating our top 3.
And TJ Crampton has now not let the top 2 get away. He was having to make up about 3 seconds between himself and Logan Helton on that last run, but was setting lap times, if not quicker, the same as David Santini. So this 22 car, the only Penske Ford still running on the track, looking pretty doggone good.
Yeah, running well. And I mean, looking at the best lap times that have been placed for all these drivers, a surprise for me is actually Chris Whitaker has put down the fastest lap so far this race, with all the way back in 6th place, and you can tell he's only got a short run machine, and drifting back is he.
Carson Bowers, who brought out the caution when he spun out. He lost a lap, and so therefore he is currently in 8th, second car, 1 lap down. Aaron Tyner in 7th position would currently be in the free pass spot should a yellow flag come out here at any point. As the gap right now about 0.3 of a second. Look at David Santini running the shorter way around the racetrack. Had it right down there on the inside line going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, through 1 and 2, and then trying the outside lane, just trying to figure out what area is the faster part to be, and right now he's making that inside line work as Logan Helton's just sticking on the outside and just trying to make that be the best spot to be. As Santini's just running a lane or a lane and a half lower than the 8 machine, which is helping him stay close to Helton. But that time around, he is losing time just slightly.
We talked about earlier with Whitaker how we could clearly see he was losing ground off the corner. That's really the place you have to be your best here at Bristol, because the straightaways are so short that you have to get that launch either off of 2 or 4 to be able to make sure you're going to be right alongside the driver you're battling and force them into whichever line you want them to be in going into 1 or 3.
Yeah, it really looks like Santini is deciding that he's going to try to make turn 1 and 2 the best corner where he's going to gain time, and he's continuing to do so. as he's figuring out that low line is where he needs to be if he's going to make this pass. It's just he loses so much momentum out of the corner. That's not where he wants to be out of 3 and 4. And really you're trying to figure out where the rhythm needs to be. Do I need to run the inside or the outside? And it's looking like the inside line is where you're going to be finding a lot of speed.
Well, the problem for him, though, is he's running out of time of making that inside line work, because as the run goes on, the heat in that right front tire is going to continue to build up, and you're not going to be able to approach that inside line with nearly as much speed and driving it in as you would have been able to on the fresher tires.
Yeah, these guys have already been on these tires for 16 laps, and our leaders are coming up to lap traffic, where you've got Tim Williams and McPherson side by side in front of our leaders. So our leaders hoping for these two machines to figure stuff out, as they will finally single file up with Tim Williams in front of the 98.
Williams 1 lap down, McPherson is 12 laps down, so obviously they are not battling for position in the standings in the running order, and now they will try and get themselves settled out. And wow, Logan Helton, I don't think was sure which lane the 98 was going to go to, had to swap up to the outside line just about last minute off the corner, and as he had to lift David Santini back within a car length.
Yeah, they really didn't notify the leaders just quick enough. I mean, they told them about a half second before they were on each other's back front bumpers. But you got to remember, this 19 and 98 machine, they took the wave around. They're on the much older tires, and now you're seeing they were open for a quick caution. And right now, they're being a wall for third place of TJ Crampton.
Crampton now going to have to go to the inside of them as, whoa, McPherson almost got into the back of Tim Williams, then got loose himself, almost up into the wall. Fourth place, Barry Stevens making his way around this.
Now they're looking for a caution, but if they're the caution, then they won't get a lucky dog, but this is just not the type of action that they're hoping to see, as battle for the lead still heating up, as Santini still right there within striking distance.
Obviously, as we mentioned, this is the first race of the playoffs here for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, and the way you're able to tell your playoff contenders from drivers that are not battling for the championship, the playoff contenders running the Rapid Fire Pizza red spoilers there on the back of their race cars.
Yeah, it's the red spoilers showing you where they are at, and so these drivers putting on a show at the moment, and hoping that those spoilers don't get messed up here at Bristol. As we're seeing Santini right on the back bumper of that 8 machine, thinking about where does he make the move, because he's been setting them up for the past 20 laps.
Putting on the pressure on Logan Helton. David Santini, it's been quite a long time, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's been a very long time since we saw him go to victory lane. Despite him being a 7-time winner, we'd have to go all the way back to Pocono when we saw that 99 last in victory lane. Logan Helton's been to victory lane twice since that point.
Yeah, Helton was trying to carry the momentum on to the playoffs, and here comes Santini, a huge run that set him up to go side by side here out of 4.
Tries to at least get up there alongside the left rear quarter panel going down the back straightaway, but unable to do it. And at some point, if Santini can get close enough, you almost wonder.
Yellow in the back. McPherson in front of our leaders. No!
Oh, gracious.
McPherson has just made Logan Helton blow up.
And that is one of the perils of Bristol. It doesn't matter where you're running, whether you be running in 25th or the race lead. It's like a continuous conveyor belt of cars around this half-mile short track. And sometimes being in the front is not necessarily the safest place to be. And Logan Helton, just like that, his chances of winning this race go up in smoke.
I think our leaders were expecting to see the 98 to hold the brake, and right when they got close, he started to roll it forward and really close that very small hole that was there into nothing. And Logan Helton's race practically now up in smokes.
I think Tim Williams was in the vicinity of this as well in the 19 car. Oh, wow. Okay, so the contact actually started with the 51 of Tyner getting into the left rear quarter panel of Chris Whitaker. And then the 98, I think, got into the back of the 51. That spun him around.
That is just so many machines that are part of the playoffs having major issues. I mean, Whitaker's car is mangled. Helton's going to be in the pits for a while. I mean, we don't even know the severity of Santini's car, as he's still in the pits trying to get repairs done.
Oh, right there, yeah. McPherson runs into the back of Whitaker. Tim Williams gets a piece of it. And the 98, oh, yeah, last minute does not hold the brakes. If he had kept his foot on the brake until the leaders got around him, I think there was just a slightest amount of space for them to squeeze between him and the wall, but he moved last second, and to your point, nowhere for the 8 or the 99 to be able to go. I would be surprised if David Santini didn't get just a little bit of front-end damage out of that.
He got a major front-end damage for Santini, still in the pits, trying to get that car repaired. Logan Helton's going to be in the pits for at least 30 to 35 minutes because of required repairs that he's going to need for that 8 machine. And once he gets back out there, he's still going to be underpowered. So luckily this happened in the first 100 laps. Maybe you can get that thing fixed up and get back out there to salvage something, but there's a lot of machines caught up into wrecks. Is Santini able to get back out there now, but he is 2 laps down in that 99 machine.
And that's 2 of our favorites that we said, top of the broadcast, that we fully expected could take the checkered flag tonight, automatically advance their way into the round of 8. And both of them with extensive damage now after this one. And going back again to that incident there with McPherson up on the top side and Helton and Santini getting into him, this track is very much like a super speedway where you're committed to a lane going through the corner. You can't change your mind at a split second. How you enter in the corner very often determines how you're going to be on which lane you're going to be in through the center of the corner and on the exit of the corner.
Completely, but up front it's now TJ Crampton leading the way, and TJ Crampton not in the playoffs, so he could be a spoiler here for the drivers that are trying to get a win to get in.
Looking to get his 3rd win of the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. His first came with MBM Motorsports back in Kentucky. He then followed it up after his move to Penske with a victory at Daytona, and right now paces the field here at Bristol.
Right now, I'm looking at some of the drivers that are still in this and have a pretty clean car left. TJ Crampton right now is probably the favorite of the cars that are still on the lead lap. Driver that had pace but has drifted off and has some damage. That's the 16 of Carson Bowers, who brought out our first caution of the day. That 16 machine is still quick. We'll see if he'll be able to make some moves forward and try to make his way into the next round of the playoffs.
Just took the 3rd position away from Jeffrey Meyer, did Bowers, and bringing the lap machine of David Santini along with him. You mentioned Santini 2 laps down, but it looks like that car still got pretty good pace as he and the 16 continue to try and work their way forward. Now Carson Bowers trying to catch up there to Barry Stevens in a battle for what would be the 2nd position. Should mention that with that caution coming out, Kevin Roy got back on the lead lap. So right now 6 drivers currently on the same lap as the leader, and you're looking here at the battle for 5th between Whitaker and the aforementioned Roy.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I think with the caution that came out, I think Roy actually had to take a wave around to get himself back on the lead lap, as he is on much older tires than everyone else. I think no one was able to get that wave around there on that last lap. I don't know who possibly could have gotten it.
Maybe the 2 of Whitaker. I don't know if he had gone a lap down again there at that point or not. But you're right, Kevin Roy did indeed actually take a wave around, so he was not the recipient of the free pass under that yellow. Logan Helton still sits on pit road in the 8 machine. Anthony McPherson still on pit road in the 98.
Oh, Santini almost loses it out of 2.
Down on the apron as he keeps it together, now bringing his car back to pit lane, and I almost wonder if maybe he's coming to pit road. That car might be running hot. That's something that you have to keep an eye on, as the water temperatures when you've got a lot of damage around the radiator.
Yeah, he's got the pace, and he was something to watch out for if he was able to get those laps back, because he's still at the pace of our front runners. So this is just awful to see, but still trying to get more damage repaired on that 99 machine. Back up front, Barry Stevens is surprising me. That 78 machine is still with the 22 of TJ Crampton.
All during the regular season, we were saying, when is this 3rd BJ McLeod Motorsports car going to go to victory lane? He saw both of his teammates go to victory lane for a combined total of 11 races. How apropos would it be for him to get his first win of the season here in the first race of the playoffs?
Get the first win, get moving on, and set up for the next race. I'm also watching drivers battling here for 5th place. as you got Whitaker and Kevin Roy still battling one another, but both of them have slight damage from being involved in some of the most recent cautions and incidents.
Yeah, Roy's got his damage from hitting the inside wall when he was avoiding Carson Bauer's second spin that eventually brought out the caution. Plus, he's on older tires. Chris Whitaker was actually involved in the last caution as he ended up getting hit from behind by the 51 of Aaron Tyner and backed into the outside wall. And then, of course, you see that rear end damage was when the 98 of McPherson ran to the back of him after his spin.
Car that's looking to be the car of the lucky dog would be Aaron Tyner. And this 51 machine, 7th place, 2 laps down. So even if he gets the lucky dog, he'll still have to be 1 lap down. But just open for a caution for some of these drivers that are 7th on back, as they're all still multiple laps down.
David Santini is back out on track, now 7 laps down to the leaders, working his way around 4th place, running Jeffrey Meyer. Santini just out here because, you consider the fact, yes, the 99 had, I think it was 21 playoff points coming into this race. I mean, he's well above the cut line, but when you've got tracks like Las Vegas and the Charlotte Roval coming up, you can't say it's an absolute guarantee that he's going to be moving on to the round of 8. So he's got to continue to forge on as long as that car is somewhat up to speed to salvage as many points as he can.
Yeah, they have to continue pushing forward, like you said, as much as they can. And it's one of those things where I think the Roval is one of those places where the BJ McLeod guys are feeling comfortable, but they were hoping that they would already have one of their drivers locked in after this race. But it just has not really worked out for these drivers. Looking at the last couple of lap times that are being placed, TJ Crampton is slowly starting to pull away from run away from Barry Stevens. Carson Bauer's in 3rd place. He's starting to catch up to these front 2.
Now remember, if TJ Crampton goes victory lane, you mentioned it, not a playoff contender, that means that nobody would be locked into the next round of the playoffs as far as our playoff contenders, at least not until we get to Las Vegas next week.
Yeah, and even with the drivers that didn't make today's race, they're still jazzed and excited, because if you're seeing other playoff contenders having issues, that means it gives you a better shot of possibly coming back even if you miss today's race.
Absolutely. As we're looking here at the 16 of Carson Bowers, was 7th in the playoffs coming into this race. And I was just taking notice of that last round of pit stops we had there under our 3rd caution of the day. Just about everybody came down and took on a set of tires, but it looks like Jeffrey Meyer may have gone possibly with a fuel-only strategy. He only spent 4.2 seconds in his pit stall.
Yeah, and that's just a splash-and-go type of a pit stop that 38 machine took. Expecting us to possibly go green for the rest of the way, pit now, get the fresher tires, then you'll have the advantage over the other drivers, gaining time on them as the race is coming to an end here. But the only issue is that this strategy is banking on you being able to hold your place with all the other drivers, and he is so far back. Even if he pits early, I don't know if he'll be gaining time or enough time on the drivers that are going to be out there a little bit longer than he is.
Well, let's also remember, too, that these drivers were only given 4 sets of tires for this race. The only driver that hasn't used up 2 sets at this point is the 38 of Meyer. So let's say we end up getting a late race caution, and these drivers have used all of their sets up. That 38 car may have a set of tires still available to them in the closing stages of this race.
Issues for a playoff contender. Chris Whitaker's engine just blew up 2 laps ago. The 2 machine in pit road, and he'll be in there for a while.
And he is going to be added to the number of drivers that are running the special playoff red spoiler that have found problems here tonight. And we're about to have another lap machine here as Jeffrey Meyer was just talking about him. He's going to go a lap down, and with him being passed, there's only 3 cars now on the lead lap in Crampton, Stevens, and Bowers.
And they're all within 3 seconds of one another, so our top 3 running well. And with Santini right now, he got fresh tire. He's got fresher tires than our lead lap drivers, but still showing good pace in that 99 machine. Just the only issue, he's 7 laps down.
And at a track like Bristol, that is so difficult to be able to get yourself back onto the lead lap, especially with the fact you consider drivers ahead of him. Aaron Tyner, 2 laps down. Matt Knight, 3. Tim Williams, 4. And we just saw Jeffrey Meyer go a lap down. Kevin Roy was lap down as well. TJ Crampton just got the wall there off of turn 4.
Carson Powers almost lost it out of 4 there. And these drivers, it's around the time that we saw a caution with drivers getting loose. So the tire wear is coming into play for some of these drivers that are running on the lead lap and a couple of laps down.
Yeah, you're right. This is about the time that we saw Carson Bowers have his issue not once but twice off of turn 2, as he's now going to try and get around the 38 of Jeffrey Meyer. Right now, in terms of who's running the fastest lap time, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another, because Crampton and Stevens, they were only separated by 3/1000ths of a second last time.
And that last time by, Barry Stevens ran faster, and here comes Santini, who's going to mix things up with these drivers much faster than our front 2, trying the hard way to start unlapping himself, as it looks like that is the 98 of McPherson that's able to get back on track.
Chris Whitaker has now retired from the race. David Santini just actually passed him moments ago, moving up to the 9th position. Looks like Anthony McPherson may be able to pass Whitaker as well, but Logan Helton continues to sit on pit road in that 8 machine. Don't know if he'll be able to get out there, take advantage of a position on the 2 machine, as this is not a battle for position, but it's a very important battle for David Santini, because now it puts him to 6 laps down rather than 7.
Yeah, and right there, it was very helpful. Oh, so he gets in the wall, Santini does, and now right in front of TJ Crampton, blocking him off. Crampton brushing the wall. Barry Stevens now able to start getting closer onto the 22 machine.
And Barry Stevens keeps ducking down a little bit lower through the corner. Now, is he searching for something, or is he also maybe trying to find a little bit of clean air to the nose as Crampton again brushes the wall?
I think Crampton's tires might be gone, and he's also he might be overthinking this with how to get by lap cars, also getting passed by cars that are on fresher tires. It's just a lot of thinking going on, and he might be mirror driving just a little bit too much, and that's why he's brushed the wall multiple times here.
Yeah, but I mean, earlier on, we had Logan Helton, David Santini, and TJ Crampton pulling away from the rest of the field, so we know the 22 car has the pace, but to your point, could easily be overthinking it, trying to get more out of the race car than he actually has to, and that's giving the advantage to that 78 of Barry Stevens, who's just licking his chops, waiting for the 22 to make a major mistake.
I will say this, there is a tactic to running that high and sometimes brushing the wall. iRacing is a video game of some sorts. Yes, it's known as a simulation, but there are some walls that if you hit them right, you actually can get advantage off of exit. So, Roy and as well, Santini making contact there.
More damage to the front of that 99 as he nearly spun the 4 of Kevin Roy around.
3 wide behind our leaders. Oh, man.
Bristol?
Yeah, it was the 98, 99, and the 4 machine.
Oh, McPherson almost hit the 99 of Santini off the corner.
It's a lot of machines that, I mean, we know Santini's got fresher rubber. He can get by these drivers, and that's what's frustrating, because he wasn't able to get by Roy. And then you've got our leaders that you really are trying not to affect. And then you also got other lap machines that are running even fresher tires than yourself. So it's a mixture of drivers on different paces, and a lot of you don't want to hit them and they don't want to hit you type of moments.
Well, that last time around, Barry Stevens drove it deeper into turn 1 than he has the last 15 laps. Got right up to the back bumper of TJ Crampton as he makes his way around the slower lap machine of Aaron Tyner. The gap about 0.2 of a second, but Stevens is right there, and Crampton again gets the wall pretty good.
Yeah, and this is kind of a situation where you're so close to the other machine. Crampton hitting it even harder. Oh my goodness, Crampton! I don't know if Crampton's gonna have a right side of that machine if we don't see him coming in the pits soon.
Now Stevens on the bottom, Crampton on the top. You can clearly see how even just the right front splitter area of that 22 is kind of flared out from all the hits he's been taking.
And he's got to be careful not to hit the wall and bounce off of it to come down onto Barry Stevens. And both Barry Stevens trying to give each other as much room as possible. Barry Stevens almost on the apron off in the middle and exit of the corner, which is some drivers can make it work. Others, if they touch that apron, it could just spin them around.
He talked about how TJ Crampton and how other drivers, they can bounce off the wall here at Bristol and just kind of keep their momentum up. something that I've noticed is that Crampton, a couple of times when he's gotten into the wall, it has slowed him down. That's what's been allowing Barry Stevens on this inside line to get alongside of him.
Yeah, there's a very small area. If you hit it right, you can have that speed. But if you miss, you are losing speed. You're scrubbing off time, and you're just putting more damage onto your car. And these drivers are still battling side by side. The thing is Carson Bowers has had to try to get by lap machines, and he's been actually catching them at awful moments, losing time. Pass for the lead. The 78 of Barry Stevens. Here comes the crossover move.
Crampton drives it in deep, seeing if he can get the lead back. Pushes up off the corner, though, almost into the wall again off of 4. Santini's going to get by him, and now going to move in to maybe play a little bit of defense for his teammate in the 78.
Yeah, usually it's swapped when we see Barry Stevens be the one playing defense, but I don't even think defense is necessary at this point. Crampton's machine is just not looking comfortable here the longer this run goes on. It looked good for the first about 30 to 40 laps, but we've been on these tires for 57 laps, and it's just been miserable so far for TJ Crampton.
And right there just gave me an idea of how much he has been using up those tires, as the 22 was a little slideways off of turn 2. Stevens' car, however, looks pretty stable, even running down there on the inside line, as he'll look to put Jeffrey Meyer down a second lap.
Jeffrey Meyer goes a lap down. Santini able to get by Meyer. Santini, though, since he tried to get his lap back, he got lapped again. He's still running 7 laps down and trying to get by Barry Stevens, but at the same time, honestly, just trying to be a wall to protect that lead and try to help Barry Stevens make his way to the next round.
The only other driver that was on the lead lap besides Stevens and Crampton, Carson Bowers, just came to pit road. Looks like this was a regularly scheduled stop for the 16.
Yeah, this is around the time that you can come in and make it to the end. So these drivers are set to go, as well as Kevin Roy into the pits.
Roy from the 5th position, 3 laps down, but could possibly finish out tonight with a top 5 finish. Jeffrey Meyer was able to move into the 3rd spot because he hasn't come to pit road yet. And let's not forget that he's out there on much older tires than anybody else because he went with just fuel only on the last pit stop.
Yeah, Jeffrey Meyer trying to do the best that he can, staying out here 2 laps down and really doing a decent job for himself. As Barry Stevens still leading the way in that 78 machine as we are on lap 136. This race is just cruising along. We're less than 100 laps for these drivers, and really it's this next stop's your money stop. You got to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. Don't be sliding into your pit stall, and don't be speeding in or out.
Whoa, Barry Stevens drove it deep and into the left rear quarter panel of Matt Knight. Fortunately, keeps his car straight, does the 0-1, but a close call for our race leader there.
And sometimes you just don't notice the closing rate that you're going to have from the leader to lap cars, and once again, lap traffic is cautioned out.
It's Matt Knight in the 0-1.
Matt Knight and also TJ Crampton.
Caution will wave for the 4th time this evening, and it's the 2nd time that tonight our leaders have been involved in something here at Bristol.
Yeah, you're wondering who's going to be left really after this. We might have all of our lead lap cars out of this race soon, and some of these lap machines will have a chance to be up front. Looking at cars that should be getting their lap back, that should be given to Carson Bowers, who's going to be now only 1 lap down after the lucky dog.
And I believe that he will probably stay out as well, even though he did get the lucky dog. He wouldn't be eligible for the waiver round, but he was just on pit lane, so I don't see why he would come back down pit road, unless maybe to top off the fuel tank. Saw there the earlier contact between Barry Stevens and Matt Knight. Let's see what happens here now when TJ Crampton, the 22, catches up to him. Oh, okay, so Matt Knight just got so wide off of turn 4, got into the wall, and it just killed his momentum. It's almost like that car came to a dead stop. There's just no reaction time for the 22 coming off the corner.
Yeah, and it's one of those things of coming off the corners, if you hit the wall like you saw, you just come to a dead stop and it just hurts you so much. But man, that is just hard to see for these drivers, leaving us with 2 cars on the lead lap, but really only 1 car that looks like it's raceable at the moment. It's TJ Crampton is trying to rush around to get that machine as fixed up as possible while also staying on the lead lap.
98 of Anthony McPherson, I think, got a little piece of it as well. Got in the back of TJ Crampton, so about a 3-car incident off of turn 4, bringing out this, our 4th caution of the night. And you mentioned that these drivers now, they should be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel. However, this is Bristol, and we're now into the second half of this race. We're going to see a lot more pushing and shoving, I think, for position. I mean, we saw it right there with Barry Stevens trying to get around the slower machine of Matt Knight making that contact. So still, all these drivers that look like they may be en route to really good finishes, we can't leave them there just yet because the checkered flag hasn't waved.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of moments. I mean, we talked about this, I believe, before the broadcast, and it might have been on the broadcast as well, as we were expecting lap cars to be able to get out of the way here. I know it's a really small track, it's difficult, but when you're trying to get out of the way on track, it's so hard. Most of the time, if you're being passed by a car that's on the lead lap, most drivers, if they're trying to get out of the way as quick as possible, will just get onto the apron as fast as possible to let the lead lap car go and then merge back onto the course. But we've been seeing it here. A lot of machines deciding they're going to be staying on course, and with Matt Knight's being involved in some accidents and that car heavily damaged, he is going to be parking it for the rest of the day.
Looks like 2 drivers are going to take the wave around. David Santini is going to now have himself 6 laps down to the leaders, but he's out there on 53-lap old tires. Kevin Roy, who was just on pit road a couple of laps ago, also taking the wave around. He will now be -3, and there you see right there, the 78 and the 22. That's your lot of the drivers currently on the lead lap. Carson Bowers, who just got the free pass, he is now 1 lap down in 3rd. Jeffrey Meyer in that 38 is 2 laps down in 4th, and 3 laps down in 5th is Aaron Tyner. He and Kevin Roy will be battling for that position as we are back green with 82 to go.
Back green underway. The 78 of Barry Stevens. Really all he needs to do, even if cars get by him, is just run clean and stay in front of that 22 machine, as they are the only ones on the lead lap.
Jeffrey Meyer trying to get one of his 2 laps back.
Oh, contact!
And into the wall he'll go.
And just like that, with Carson Bowers not involved in that accident, he'll be getting the lucky dog again, and now we got 3 cars on the lead lap.
Boy, it's incredible. Nobody else got involved in that as the 38 shot back up the track. Kevin Roy, Tim Williams, close calls for a number of drivers there heading into turn 1.
Yeah, it's just aggressive racing and trying to get a lap back with Jeffrey Meyer and trying to do it the hard way. Tim Williams almost made contact there as the 38 machine was spinning around, but man, that helps a lot of cars that are might be trying to do a wave around here. And expect to see Santini do another wave around and others as well.
Boy, and that's just one of those difficult situations coming off the corner at Bristol. Car on the inside line pushes up, car on the outside line turns down to avoid hitting the wall. So many times we see that happen at Bristol, where 2 cars want just that little tiny same piece of real estate, and eventually the contact leads to a torn up race car. And unfortunately for Jeffrey Meyer, his nose pointed down to the inside wall and some pretty extensive damage to the front of his Chevrolet.
And looky here, the 8 machine of Logan Helton's got his machine fixed up and did it under 30 minutes and is back out there on course. The only issue, 73 laps down, but he's got 2 cars that are officially out of the race, so he might be able to gain 2 more positions, moving himself up into the top 10.
Yeah, he'll at least be able to pass Chris Whitaker. He would do that in about 28 laps time. Little questionable on whether or not he'd be able to pass Matt Knight, which would actually be for a spot inside of the top 10 in the finishing results. He is currently about 60 laps behind that 0-1. So he'd have to turn some pretty decent lap times here to make sure that he gets to the 10th position before whoever the race winner is gets to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crossing your fingers and hoping, but I mean, it's still a chance for a top 10 finish, as well as McFeary looking for a top 10 finish for himself as well in that 98 machine.
10 cars still running, with Carson Bowers getting the free pass. He is the 3rd and final car on the lead lap, and right now, you said it before, Barry Stevens really the only car out there that doesn't have that much of a mark on it. That was prior to him getting that right front into the left rear of Matt Knight. But, I mean, you've got Carson Bowers, who's been up into the wall numerous times tonight. TJ Crampton, who has pounded the right side of his race car to the outside wall. So it'd be interesting to see here. I mean, is there anybody else that maybe could get back on the lead lap here that you see being able to be competitive with the 78?
I mean, Jeffrey Meyer was that car, but then he brought himself out to be that caution. And now I don't know if there's enough time in this race. Even if we do have a caution almost every lap, then maybe we might be able to see David Santini or Tim Williams get out there. But Tim Williams' machine looks like it has gotten worse as the run goes on. And really, TJ Crampton was the only one that was sticking with the 78. Besides Santini there, I don't know if there's anyone.
It's amazing how Bristol is playing such a huge factor already into what the playoffs are looking like. Look at the guy back here, 5th place, but 3 laps down. Kevin Roy in the 4. He was the only one of the 12 drivers that advanced to the playoffs that had no playoff points whatsoever coming into the postseason. And right now in that 5th position could find himself in a very cushy situation points-wise heading to Las Vegas next week.
Yeah, Kevin Roy's luck has been pretty not that great during this season, but it is starting to change here in just the first race of the first round. As green flag back in the air, Barry Stevens trying to pull away, and really all the action is behind him. TJ Crampton still able to run up here, even though he doesn't have a back bumper, and really you don't need that. And it might be an advantage if someone else tries to give him the bump and run.
All you need is an engine and 4 tires. Doesn't matter what the car looks like on the outside. Bristol's not necessarily one of those hugely aerodynamic tracks. It's a short track, short straightaways, so it's really just all about your corner speed.
As I'm looking back at the 16 car that is on the lead lap, but had to start in the end of the field, Carson Bowers able to get by Tim Williams, now looking to try to get by the 99 machine of David Santini.
I think we can safely say that based on what we've seen, the handling of that 16 car, Carson Bowers definitely has a short run car, because we get about 30 to 40 laps into a run, you see the rear end grip go away on his machine. So I think he's hoping maybe for a couple more quick spurt cautions here in the final 70 laps of this race.
Yeah, where we might see a caution is back here with Elton, as well as Tim Williams, Kevin Roy, and Tyner. I mean, these guys all on top of one another and almost making contact multiple times.
Yeah, Kevin Roy in the 4 and Aaron Tyner in 51. They're actually on the same lap, 3 laps down, so they are actually battling for position for a spot inside the top 5.
Trying their best at the moment, as it looks like the 16 of Carson Bowers able to get by David Santini. Only problem, he is about 2.5 seconds back from our leader, but he's trying to gain and is gaining on TJ Crampton.
Looking in terms of lap times right now, Stevens is the fastest on track. Second fastest, Carson Bowers. Right now, 0.8 of a second behind TJ Crampton for that second position.
And right now, Bowers now by all the lap machines, and now it's just get to the 22, get by him as quick as possible, and try to get down and catch up to that 78 machine.
Right now, Barry Stevens is laying down really good lap times. Last time by a 15.1, 15.2 the last time, and this time by a 15.4. Just a tick slower than Carson Bowers, but it has translated into a 2.5 second lead between himself and this now closing up battle for second place.
That last lap, it was close, but it was Bowers that actually was running a little bit faster now. Just got word from Bowers' crew chief. They made some adjustments. They feel good if this thing goes green to the way, and they have the car to catch up to Barry Stevens.
Well, he's caught TJ Crampton now for that second position. Question is, where does he try to pass him? A lot of that ground he's been making up has been on that outside line, and that's where Crampton's liking to run.
Yeah, right now, Crampton's running that middle line where you're really blocking the whole entire track. Carson's trying to figure out which lane is the best one, and he's trying that outside line. Got the momentum side by side with the 22.
Crampton tried to block but couldn't do it. If he did, he'd probably been turned from the outside wall. Realized the 16 is faster, moved out of the way, and now Carson Bowers has about 3.7 seconds to try and make up between himself and the race leader Barry Stevens.
It's going to be tight if he has the car to do it, but now is the time. Plenty of track, open space, and you're hoping that Barry Stevens, once he catches up to lap traffic, they start to hold up that 78 machine. And, when you were talking about making friends throughout the season, I mean, it's something important to think about. Barry Stevens, whenever he's a lap machine, he's been quite aggressive at holding his ground and not letting the leaders go on by. The question is, Barry Stevens is the leader now. who's going to be letting him go by this time easily?
That's a very good question. As Carson Bowers, boy, he had to use up quite a bit of his stuff, making his way through the field, eventually getting around TJ Crampton, and now we're starting to see the lap times taper off just a little bit. He loses about 0.2 a lap for the last 3 laps to Barry Stevens, and this was a car that was running just about the same lap times, if not a tick quicker than Barry Stevens about 10 laps ago.
Yeah, I mean, the real issue is that he had to go through so much traffic to get up here. I mean, he had to start at the end of the line, get by all those machines, but there is still time, as well as lap traffic to get by, and that's what Barry Stevens has just gotten up to, as he's just gotten up to the 19 of Tim Williams. Williams is trying to figure out how to give room, and does, to the 78.
Fellow Supra moving out of the way there as we're looking at this battle for the 5th position. Aaron Tyner has reeled in Kevin Roy, and these two 3 laps down, trying to see who's going to get maybe that final spot inside of the top 5 here tonight at Bristol.
And what's making it interesting is they're actually catching up to TJ Crampton, even though they're battling as hard as they are. So we'll have to wait and see if they make any contact with one another here to try to move each other around, as Tyner now getting under that 4 machine.
Trying to remember the last time that a JD Motorsports car finished up inside of the top 5 in a Rapid Fire Pizza national race, and just off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
It might have been a while ago, but man, I can't think of one either.
Looking here, Kevin Roy does not have a top 5 finish this season, nor does Matt Knight. And those have really been the 2 mainstay drivers this season for the JD Motorsports team. So yeah, Kevin Roy looking to make some history here for the team and get JD Motorsports their first top 5, but boy, Aaron Tyner dogfighting on that inside line.
Yeah, Tyner is trying to do his best as we continue to watch these battling going on. I think at this point, I think Carson Bowers is looking for a caution as his tires are gone. And another thing to point out is he is on the 10-lap older tires than Barry Stevens, so he had to do so much battling to get to where he's at now, and it might be just a little bit too much for that 16 machine if we stay green to the end.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting because the fact that Carson Bowers, he might at this point in time have already used up 3 of his 4 sets of tires. He did get the lucky dog, but I don't think he came to pit road after receiving the lucky dog. So yeah, he's running on much older tires than Barry Stevens is.
Yeah, and at this point, it's more of stay out there and do the best that they can. And the drivers are doing the best they can out here. As looking at some of the battles that are going on track, I'm watching back as, Barry Stevens, he's got to go through so much traffic right here, which could help Carson so much if we get the 78, as he is continuing to be challenged by the 38 of Jeffrey Meyer.
Battle continues side by side for 5th place between Roy and Tyner as they're about to catch up here to Tim Williams as well. Tyner will clear for the spot, finally getting around the 4 of Kevin Roy, but we'll check back there because that might get back into it momentarily. As
caution!
Caution!
It's TJ Crampton having issues, and this is exactly what.
Oh no!
Oh man.
Thought he was stuck in the pit wall there for a brief moment as that car spun down to the inside of turn 1 and with the driver's side door hit just the very edge of the pit wall.
Yeah, TJ Crampton, this day is done in that 22 machine, which really resets these things to look at. Barry Stevens and Carson Bowers, do they both come in and use up their tires now, or do they just go to the end?
I think our longest run so far today has been about 45 laps. So I think, yeah, probably closing in on what's going to be in the vicinity of about 40 laps to go. I would say that now is the time to come in to get that final set of tires, or at least the set of tires that you have still left on pit road.
As there was actually almost a little bit of contact between Barry Stevens and Bowers in the pits as they were able to get situated out. But this is when you're going to see it. This is going to be a dogfight, and I'm excited to see where these drivers are going to be running, because honestly, Carson might have a machine that is just as quick as Barry Stevens, but he has to make sure he doesn't go a lap down.
Both of these drivers are battling not only for their first win of the season here in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, but also a guaranteed spot into the round of 8, regardless of what happens next week at Las Vegas or in 2 weeks' time at the Charlotte Roval.
It's a 2-car battle. Jeffrey Meyer got the lucky dog, but he's going to be 2 laps down in that 38 machine, and it's going to be something to watch for. As you know, TJ Crampton is going to be staying in the pits trying to get repairs done. He'll be losing a lot of positions when he was running in third. Man, let's see how this 16 car goes, because he was still running just as fast as the 37, even on those older tires, and he's someone to watch out for, because I'm interested to see, can Carson finally get that first win? I know I'm being a little bit biased, but I'm really hoping to see the 16 car putting on a challenge with the 78, because it's looking like it's going to come into a great final 30 laps here.
You know, it's incredible because, you know, we maybe had a list of drivers in our heads that we thought more than likely were going to be the drivers to take this checkered flag here tonight. There are guys up here, Stevens, Bowers, Meyer, I can guarantee they weren't on that list. But they are up here with a possible chance of winning this race. The guys that I was looking at, like Logan Helton, right now, 73 laps down in 11th. David Santini, 6 laps down in 7th. Maybe one of the more consistent drivers that hasn't found victory lane this season, Evan Longacre, he's out of the race in 14th. New faces up here at the front, all with the chance of advancing into the round of 8. Drivers that I thought maybe could do it at Las Vegas or maybe at the Charlotte Roval, was not expecting it here tonight at Bristol.
Yeah, if anything, I thought Carson was my dark horse for tonight to possibly get this thing done, just based on how he was running in practice. I mean, Carson has been running well. He qualified third. Carson was the third quickest during practice. So, and the 2 drivers that were faster than him, Logan Helton, David Sedini, they're out of this. We'll see if the 16 car can beat out the BJ McLeod crew of the 78 of Barry Stevens.
Stevens back through the gears, trying to pull away. Let's remember, too, as we go back green with 42 laps to go, Carson Bowers really good on the short run, but that car goes away about 30 laps into a run.
He just needs to stay close, if anything, and hope that once they get up to lap cars, they can make the moves quick. Carson on the back bumper of the 78, thinking about when he's going to make that move. But here's the thing, that 16 car has got a sandwich between a whole bunch of BJ McLeod crew.
BJ McLeod Motorsports out in front, trying to hold off Colleague Racing, who is looking as a team to get their first win of the season.
I mean, Colleague, they're always known as being around one another. They are always working to move forward. And now you got the 16 car with no teammates around him and just surrounded by, yes, the leader of Barry Stevens, but also the 99 of David Santini.
Carson Bowers coming into this race, 10 finishes inside the top 10, 6 of them inside of the top 5, and looking for what might be his best finish of the season by far. But you're right, he's having to look out of the rearview mirror right now because David Santini's trying to pass him. This is not for position, and this is going to hurt him in his attempt to catch up to that 78.
Yeah, and that's a great move by a team. But here comes the crossover, Barry. I mean, here comes the crossover by Carson Bowers, and Santini trying to do his best to be a wall for Barry Stevens.
Stevens right now has about a 0.6 of a second gap. Now make it 0.7, as Carson Bowers still trying to get up there, at least into the same zip code as the 78. Another driver that's making forward progress, Aaron Tyner, actually took the wave around under that last caution. That put him on the same lap as Jeffrey Meyer, who he's gotten around for the 3rd position.
Yeah, 2 laps down, so you're looking for a quick 2 cautions to possibly get that 51 back onto the lead lap. But really, it's looking like the 78 of Barry Stevens, he's kind of in a good spot. And this is exactly where we saw Stevens and Santini at about 2 cautions ago.
Remember Barry Stevens when we first started broadcasting the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series? He was a driver that only had a limited number of starts, but we saw the consistency out of this driver, and we were wondering, could he make up the ground to get himself up into a spot eligible to point his way into the playoffs? Well, he did that with about maybe 6 races to spare, continued the consistency on, and then I think he had a little bit of a dry spell of good finishes as well, so definitely turned around when it matters the most here starting off the playoffs.
Yeah, and Barry Stevens needs a win because the next couple of racetracks haven't really looked that great for the 78 machine. But right now, it is something where a lot of these drivers that are outside of the top 5 that are in the playoffs and trying to make it to the next round, I think a lot of the mentality is survive this race, get as many points as I can, and set up for the upcoming couple of races. As Carson Bowers is under fire by lap machines, this 16 machine cannot really get into a rhythm and just is continuously losing time on our leader.
He was all over the back bumper of Barry Stevens for the first 2 or 3 laps of that restart, but then you just saw him fall off so quickly, losing a spot on track there to David Santini, and now under fire from the 19 of Tim Williams.
Yeah, and it's really not that Carson's running slow. He's actually running slightly faster than Barry Stevens. It's just the fact that Stevens is, he has help from Santini, who really challenged challenged Carson to lose all of that time, and now is back more than a half a second.
Barry Stevens obviously would love to be able to not see the flagman waving a caution flag here. I think he's got a pretty good long-run car and would like to probably see this thing go green to the end. Need to mention that Matt Knight, we thought he was out of the race, but apparently he just disconnected. He is now actually connected back and returned onto the track, 45 laps down, but in the 9th position. Why that's important is because Anthony McPherson and Logan Helton looked like they might have been able to move into 9th and 10th in the finishing results. That's not going to be the case.
Yeah, now it's where are the lap machines going to be? Are they going to get out of the way? Because we've seen multiple times our front runners being involved with lap traffic cautions. And this is when all the intensity grows because there's a lot of lap cars that are probably going to be in the way for the end of this race.
I don't know if Barry Stevens did have a problem there with Matt Knight, but that certainly slowed him up, and Carson Bowers closed the gap up to about 0.2 of a second for a brief moment there.
Well, there's always the thought of saving tires for Carson once he got passed by Santini. And now we're seeing the moves being made, but it's more of avoid the lap cars, get by them as quick as possible so that you can look at your eyes and figure out where you want to put your car. But here's another thing is Carson is under a ton of pressure by Tim Williams, who continues to stay on the back bumper of the 16.
But now Santini's starting to put a little bit of pressure, it appears, on Barry Stevens, trying to get one of his laps back as they're closing up on another car. I believe that might possibly be the 4 of Kevin Roy that they're about to go around. Nope, sorry, that's the 51 rather of Aaron Tyner.
And Carson has been running some really good laps these last couple of times, running about a 10th or more faster that last time, even with the 78 after getting by a lap car. But the issue is he's saving tires, supposedly. That's what his crew chief just told me. But can he get by the 99 machine?
Maybe saving tires, but the only way he's going to get around Santini and Stevens, more than likely, is if he's able to run that inside line. Because I very much doubt that neither of the BJ McLeod Supras are going to give him that top side.
And there's the 8 of Logan Helton. They're trying to get by, and Helton will stay on the inside. It's been just a 4-horse race. 2 of them on the lead lap as Santini's on the high side, giving room for Carson on the out.
And to give Carson Bowers the outside line and let him get up there and race it out with the 78 of Barry Stevens. And now that the 99 is kind of faded out of the picture, you almost wonder, does this open the door for Carson Bowers to charge yet, or does he continue to try and save? There's still a half a second between himself and the 78.
Now is the time to go. You need to get up there as quick as possible. The next car that you're going to catch up to is Jeffrey Meyer, who put some issues up, and it's one of those things where you got to continue pushing forward, but man, if you don't go now, those laps are going to tick away, and you're not going to have any time to go.
We alluded to it earlier, the fact that the only Colleague Racing car out there now is Carson Bowers, with Evan Longacre having an early exit. So there's no teammates out there to try and maybe hold up this race leader and give Carson Bowers a chance. It's basically all on Carson Bowers' shoulders, whether or not he's going to be able to get up here and wrestle this win away from the 78 of Stevens.
And another thing to look at is since Barry Stevens had a car as a buffer, maybe he was able to save his tires a little bit as well for this longer run. So it might not have been just Carson Bowers saving but both machines saving up for this final couple of laps here.
Last couple of laps, Stevens has been a tick quicker, anywhere from 4 100ths to 5 100ths. That time by about another 5 100ths quicker. As right now the gap is an even full second from Stevens back to Bowers. Those are the only two cars on the lead lap right now, the only two cars currently with a shot of winning this race with 11 laps to go.
And we were talking about that battle that was once for fifth, now for fourth, Kevin Roy and Tyner. It's looking like Kevin Roy feeling good with a 5.5 second, with a half a second gap between himself and Tyner.
Well, Tyner is struggling. He was up in third place, but that was only because he had taken the wave around. He's out there on 67 lap old tires. Most of the other drivers around him about 30 to 35 lap old tires. So he has lost a ton of speed and thusly a lot of positions here in the last 15 laps or so.
Yeah, and these drivers, they've been putting on a really good show. Now I'm looking back, Carson Bowers, he's under a little bit of fire here by the 99, and we'll see if Santini tries to make a pass here. But man, Carson Bowers, he put on a great effort here, but it's just looking like he just doesn't have enough tires here.
Oh no, there he goes! Yeah, I was just going to mention the fact we're about 35 laps into the run. This is where we started to see him struggle with that loose sensation off of 2, and we nearly just saw him loop it again off the second corner.
Yeah, this is one of those things where he might have been trying to push it, and now it's just conserve yourself, make sure your car makes it to the end, because if you wreck out now and you have to stay in the pits, you could still lose a lot of positions here. As Carson Bowers trying to stay on the course and keep it clean, but there has to be a lot of frustration at this point.
Well, you just hit on a topic we haven't talked about all night, but it is so true of Bristol, and that is getting back to the throttle too early. Reminds me a lot of Richmond as well. You get back on the throttle just a tick too quick. Those rear tires, they spin, and that's what causes the car to want to go around.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you keep on just trying to get up there, and it's just one of those things where Bristol, you feel like you have so much time to work with. 225 laps, it seems like a lot of time, but these drivers, it went away so quick for them. It's only been them racing for about an hour or so, or a little bit more than an hour, and this race is almost done.
And look at the finishes some of these drivers are going to be getting. Barry Stevens looking to close out this victory and advance into the round of 8. Carson Bowers, who came in 7th in the playoff points, looking for 2nd. Jeffrey Meyer, who came in 5th, looking for 3rd. And Kevin Roy, who came in 12th of the 12 playoff contenders, looking for 4th place. Huge points nights for a number of drivers.
Yeah, huge points night for those guys in our top contenders, having issues with being caught up with lap cars. And that is probably going to be the storyline for a lot of these cars starting off this playoffs, is what if I didn't make contact with that lap machine at that point?
It was a question of when. The question has been answered tonight. Barry Stevens, the 3rd BJ McLeod Motorsports Toyota, gets his first win of the season. It's the first playoff race tonight at Bristol, and Stevens is the first driver to advance to the round of 8.
And still another fantastic run for Carson Bowers, and Jeffrey Meyer able to stay 2 laps down while the rest of the field went 4 or more laps down, which is wild to see. So many cars having issues throughout the night, and only 2 cars left on the lead lap.
And even David Santini being able to bounce back for a 6th place finishing result. I mentioned the fact that we can't guarantee he's moving on to the round of 8 until we know what happens at Las Vegas and at the Charlotte Roval, but that's certainly a step in the right direction, despite the struggles he had tonight of maybe pointing his way into the playoffs should he not find victory lane in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, trying to get his way into the next round is going to be a lot of hard work for some of these drivers that have bad nights, but Las Vegas, you got to reset from tonight and just try to have a good time at that oval, and then for other drivers, it's try to get a good run at the road course, because the Roval is going to be a place where, honestly, I think the BJ McLeod team, they're going to be doing quite well there. It's a team to really watch out and see if that's redemption for either Santini or Helton.
Well, we knew that Bristol was going to play a factor here in the playoffs. We didn't know just how much. Your top 5 finishers here tonight were all drivers searching for their first win of the season, and Barry Stevens is the one who gets it done. Santini was 6th, followed by Tim Williams, a driver that was hit with an issue all the way back on lap 4, had to struggle for the last 221 laps up to a 7th place finish. TJ Crampton looked like he could very well have been a driver that could have taken the checkers tonight, but he got involved in multiple incidents in 8th. Matt Knight will finish in 9th, followed by Anthony McPherson. And the last driver to finish out this race was Logan Helton, who led a majority of the first, maybe third of this race before getting involved in that wreck with a lap machine. He finishes in 11th, and the rest of these drivers all finishing out of the race. And of course, very notably, 3 of them playoff contenders in Whitaker, Gregory, and Longacre.
Yeah, and some of these drivers did a stop in a start and park, which was good for points. Other drivers were not able to even make it to today's race. So starting next week, these drivers that are in a hole, they have dug themselves a pretty big one. They're going to be trying to get out of it, like Gordon, as well as Andrews, that did not show up for this race.
Not only that, but a lot of the drivers that we mentioned, they were kind of down there in the latter half of the playoff standings, running well tonight. Drivers up in the upper half of the playoffs, struggling here tonight. Those points are going to be really close, especially down around that cutoff line when we get to Las Vegas next week, a track that most oftentimes plays out in a fuel strategy race.
Yeah, and most of these guys, they're going to be trying every different strategy that they can here for next week, just based off of some drivers are going to have to be trying some really risky strategy calls of staying out or pitting early. And man, it is going to be interesting to see how next week goes. If any of the drivers that had off weeks today, if they're going to be having another one next week or even at the Roval, because at this point, if you had a bad race today or didn't show up, you need to be on top of your game for the next 2 races.
You don't want to go into the Charlotte Roval in a must-win situation. Let's get a word with some of our top 3 finishers here, and how about we talk with Jeffrey Meyer, our 3rd place runner. Great run here tonight for the RSS Racing Chevrolet. Hey, Jeffrey, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, a wild one here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. We had a number of cautions come out, a number of drivers trapped a lap down, battling for position all the way through the field, as well as the lap cars and lead lap cars. Man, it was exciting up here in the booth. What was it like down there in the driver's suit?
Kind of hectic.
You know, we were talking about the fact a lot of drivers here tonight came into the playoffs with very few playoff points. You came into this one with, I believe, 7 playoff points, and a great way to start off the first round here. Does this set the tone for the remainder of this first round, or was this a track that you just kind of wanted to survive and get out of?
No, I had a good feeling I could have won tonight, and just got wrecked trying to get my lap back there, and so I guess we'll go on to our next race and see if we can't get a win there.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey, it was a long race for some of you guys that had issues. But I mean, for you, how hard was it during these cautions? I mean, you were probably wanting to take waiver rounds every time to get your lap back, but with having to also think about tires, I mean, how difficult was it making that decision to do a waiver round or not?
Yeah, I tried not taking tires at first stint to try to save myself a set, and and I fell back and got a caution, but just it just didn't work out for me.
Well, Jeffrey, I mean, obviously, 3rd place run here tonight, though, going to have you in a very good situation points-wise, heading into Las Vegas next week, and, of course, the elimination race at Charlotte. So we hope that this consistency continues for you to advance into the round of 8. For now, though, we're going to let you do some shout-outs.
I'd like to give a shout-out to Rapid Fire Pizza, Shober's Custom Graphics, and FSM Customs. And you guys doing the broadcast, you do a really good job.
Well, that's Jeffrey Meyer, 3rd place to start off the playoffs here in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Congrats on a great run. Wish you luck at Las Vegas next week.
All right, thanks.
And let's get in Carson Bowers, who brings it home 2nd place, barely here tonight. Hey, Carson, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, before we brought you in here, I said that you barely got that second position because we saw you nearly lose it out of turn two again. Looked like turn two was really a struggle for you, but obviously, with this being an open setup league, I would assume you probably had that car set up as loose as possible, especially for the early run.
Yeah, John Jones is on the box with me tonight. Did a really good job with the car. Made a couple adjustments after that first spin, tighten it up. And honestly, that race was very interesting because a lot of things went our way. You know, Barry had a really fast car. Maybe would have been able to keep up with him if we had a little less damage, but still a pretty good race points wise.
Looked like your car, for the most part, was set up for the short run. What kind of adjustments did you make to the car to be able to have it be a long run machine?
Yeah, we were definitely dealing with being really loose on the long run, no matter how much we tightened it up. So really trying to prevail on the short runs there, but it wasn't enough with Barry just being able to run perfectly. And once that long run hit, car started to get really loose, and we lost him. But can't thank enough all the guys that helped me out with this, and hopefully get him next week at Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Carson, it was a great run on your part, and luck helped you a ton here to finish up in second. But when on that last restart, we saw that you were trying to get by Barry, and then you saw Santini and Logan all around you. How was it having the whole entire BJ McLeod team around you while trying to pass Barry Stevens?
Yeah, I definitely saw that coming with the whole teammate gig. Knew they were going to block me, and just trying to figure out where could I get the best pass set up, hoping the lap cars would do what they did earlier in the race, but didn't happen for me tonight.
Well, obviously, though, Carson, I mean, to set the tone like this, beginning off the playoffs for a driver that came into this one only having 4 playoff points, obviously it's got to be a huge momentum shift for you. But now with the great run here tonight at Bristol, what's the mindset going into a kind of a wild card fuel strategy race at Las Vegas, and of course the twists and turns of the Charlotte Roval?
Oh yeah, definitely needed to have a good night tonight. Good amount of playoff drivers either didn't make it or got wrecked out, and so having a good amount of points really helps. Just in case we get wrecked out, but it gives us a good opportunity going, hopefully into the round of 10, and gives us a little bit of a bubble for that Roval race.
Well, obviously a great run here tonight for your colleague racing entries. A second place run here. I believe this ties your best finish of the season. So close to getting that first win, but we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Yeah, so close. I just want to thank Bruzy Raceware, Jones Racing Setups, Rapid Fired Pizza, Abiding Memorial Urns, all the guys back that help with the setups, FFS Racing, everybody that really makes this thing possible for me.
That's Carson Browers. He finishes runner-up here tonight at Bristol. We hope this continues the trend for you here for this first round of the playoffs. Wish you luck next week at Las Vegas.
Thank you.
And now let's get Barry Stevens, who celebrates his first win of the season here in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Hey, Barry, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, man, we were wondering when we were going to be seeing that third BJ McLeod entry go to victory lane, and what a way to do it here. A guaranteed spot into the round of 8 with your win here tonight at Bristol.
Amen, brother. It's been a long season, and for it to be the first race of the season, it couldn't come at a better time.
You know, we saw that a lot of drivers here tonight were not safe no matter where they were running. Of course, your two teammates were running first and second when they had their issues. And we saw you make a little bit of contact with a few of the lap machines as well. How difficult was it to maneuver your way through lap traffic?
Yeah, the speeds and the differences here, of course, it just cars sneak up on you so fast. And when you're coming around and you've got lap traffic and all, you've got to make that quick decision. And a lot of times, you expect them to run their line. If they don't run their line, or they try to outthink you and they try to move to a different lane or something, it can cause some problems. But the key thing is to just run your race, and there's, of course, it's luck involved too. It's Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, we saw that David as well as Logan didn't have the best runs they were hoping for after being caught up in some incidents. But later on, you had David there to help you kind of be a wall there for that last restart. How was it having your teammates being so helpful for you to get this win?
We've worked as a team all season, and to have the two of them, I feel terrible for them. I don't know that we would have had a 1-2-3 tonight, but I feel like we did. TJ was strong tonight also, but we definitely had a chance at a 1-2-3, and it's a shame for them. But it was nice having some help behind me, just especially at that end there, them counting down laps for me also.
Barry, obviously you're the only one of 12 drivers heading into Las Vegas next week, knowing you are advancing into the next round of the playoffs. So for Las Vegas and the Charlotte Roval, do we see anything different now? Do we see a little bit more added aggression? Do we see maybe a varying pit strategy from everybody else to try and see if you can find victory lane a couple more times here before getting to the round of 8?
For me, it just takes the pressure off. And with that, of course, I don't know that I would drive any more aggressive. I kind of, you know, not afraid to use the bumper, so they say. I was clean all night tonight. I didn't run into anybody. In fact, I got run into coming onto pit lane. But yeah, I think next week is a good track. Las Vegas is good. Roval, uh, it's going to be hard to beat David or Logan, the two of them.
Well, Barry, obviously, congratulations on your first win of the season. An automatic locked up spot there into the round of 8. Amazing time for it to happen to you as well to get that first win because it has so much behind it.
It seems like Seth had some issues there, but Barry, I
Oh,
mean,
I
it
got
was a
you.
great
There
run.
you are. There you are.
Yeah, there was a little bit of issues coming in there, but Barry, it was a great run on your part. We just want to make sure you have space for those shutouts.
Yeah, of course I'd like to thank Logan and Dave on the team for this whole season. We're in the playoffs now, and the whole team made it, and that's an accomplishment. We worked hard together to get there. People are kind of doing their own things a little bit now, but without them, I certainly it's been a long season, so I want to say thank you to them. I'd like to, of course, thank Rapid Fire Pizza, iRacing Flag, FSM Customs, Shorba's Racing Graphics, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns. And I had a special watcher tonight, my girlfriend back home in Mississippi, Janice. So I want to tell her I love her as well.
Well, Barry, it was a great run on your part. Congratulations on the win, and we hope to talk to you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Well, and overall, a great run as we were trying to get Seth back in here. But an overall great run by all these drivers, but so much chaos from top to bottom. We saw so many front runners that were taken out, such as Logan Helton, David Sattini. They were taken out by an incident early on that were our front favorites. Then we saw TJ Crampton have some issues. We had some drivers that are in the playoffs trying to get a good run, weren't able to show up, or just had to do a start and park for tonight. But all these drivers are going to continue on forward. And it's going to be such a great run. I mean, Seth, this race was crazy.
They call this the last great Coliseum, but little did I know that so many of our front runners were going to be leaving with battle scars. I mean, this certainly was an impactful race, not only in the fact that Barry Stevens was able to finally find victory lane, but just in the fact that so many drivers now that we may not have expected to be up there, possibly battling to get into the next round of the playoffs, now have some new life breathed into them, like Jeffrey Meyer, like Kevin Roy, Carson Bowers. These guys now have a shot of maybe being one of those one or two drivers that we expect to maybe move into the Final Four with Santini and Helton.
Yeah, I mean, they are some of these drivers that we're expecting to see. I mean, Barry Stevens, with this win, it helps with momentum and to carry forward. Carson Bowers, I mean, he is quick. I mean, certain tracks that Carson is our top 5 time after time. It's more of those racetracks that he might not be the quickest at, that he's needs to work on and get faster at. I'm excited to see if he can find himself in the top 4.
Tell you what, Sam, tonight was only the first race of the playoffs for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Tomorrow night, the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series drivers, it's their cutoff race, where they will go from 16 down to 12. So you think there's more on the line for those drivers tomorrow night. The race that we had here tonight might just have touched the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to see in tomorrow night's event.
Yeah, I mean, front runners that we're expecting to get good finishes, just like we saw tonight, could be taken out in an instant. It is going to be a wild card race for these drivers. I usually say that for super speedway races, but Bristol is so unknown, just like we saw tonight. Only 2 cars on the lead lap, and Barry Stevens with the win.
And add on another 25 laps for the Cup race tomorrow night. 250 laps at the Bristol Motor Speedway for that Cup Series race. But what an unbelievable race here tonight. Bristol does not seem to ever disappoint, and Barry Stevens, a driver that maybe we might not have thought of coming into this one, is the first driver to advance into the round of 8 for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. I got to look here at the point standings heading into Las Vegas next week, and I can honestly tell you from 5th on down through about 10th, right around that cutoff line, it's anybody's guess. And we're going to a fuel strategy track in Las Vegas next week, so that is going to be crazy, and going to have to maybe work the calculators quite a bit in that one.
Oh, for sure. Calculator will be utilized during that race and for tomorrow night.
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning into tonight's event here from Bristol Motor Speedway. We hope that you enjoyed it. Barry Stevens, your winner here tonight at the last great Coliseum, the world's fastest half mile. It's probably got some other names, and I don't know what they are, but it's Bristol, baby. Sam, I want to thank you for joining me here tonight for this one. Looking forward to tomorrow night as well.
It's always a pleasure there, Seth.
And thanks everybody here this evening that tuned in to tonight's coverage here. We hope that you enjoyed it and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another production here on the Flatout Racing Network. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.